Um, okay, does circumcision violate a right to bodily integrity? An absolute prohibition against all violations of a child's bodily integrity is obviously untenable. Such a prohibition would rule out vaccinations, for example, and other violations of bodily integrity. Okay, so I'll just lean into the disanalogy between vaccines and other forms of infringing on the body envelope of a child. A vaccination does not actually change the external morphology of the body. It does not affect psychosexually significant part of the body of one sex only. It does not remove healthy tissue. And it is the least risky way of promoting a universally recognized good, which must be done in a time-sensitive way to achieve that good. So again, you can just imagine if there were a vaccine that actually required removing genital tissue from one sex only, and it could easily be deferred until the child could choose about their own body parts and so forth. Well, such a vaccine would not be permitted. It would indeed be a violation of the child's right to bodily integrity, and it would be unethical and illegal. So unlike a vaccine, circumcision does permanently change the external morphology of the body. It affects the most psychosexually significant part of one sex only. It does remove healthy tissue. It's not the least risky way of promoting the good, and the good itself is highly contested and depends on a very specific epistemology that's localized to a certain group, which is subject to being reconsidered as the child grows up. So everybody agrees that a medically necessary surgery is something that promotes future bodily autonomy and is all things considered permissible in cases of a medical emergency. That's something that rests on very basic principles that are shared across basically every society. But if you want to say that doing a surgery on a child for cultural benefits or religious benefits, you're again comparing apples to oranges, because in order for me to even view that as a benefit, I have to agree to your metaphysics. Like I have to believe, for example, in the case of Judaism, that there really is a divine covenant that I'm being entered into, or that it really is beneficial to be marked on my genitals in a way that's meant to make me feel connected with my ancestors. And might have to ignore the fact that why aren't the girls in my society also allowed to take part in this ritual like they've done in some sects of Islam, for example? Isn't that a little bit sexist that they're excluded from the most important rite of the ritual? Those kinds of things are very easy to reconsider, to grow up and go, oh, actually, I'm not so sure I agree with the reason why that was done. Whereas in the case of a medically necessary surgery, no one will grow up to resent that, because that's a universal good that's very stable and robust against reconsideration just by getting new information or new perspectives. So, so more generally, we can say that when it comes to a child's sexual anatomy, there is, in Western ethical legal contexts, a default moral presumption against any non-consensual interference with that part of their body, even by touching. So if you want to talk about a special right to genital integrity or something like that, you can maybe phrase it that way. Okay, just a few more questions here. I'm near the end.